Biggest one-year wonders in recent memory.
They showed tons of promise and looked like future stars, but instead of continued success came the bitter taste of wasted potential. These are the 10 recent NBA players who looked to become franchise players, but instead ended up as one-season wonders. After being named Big 12 Player of the Year and a consensus first-team All-American as a senior at Kansas, Devonte Graham had a harsh reality check. The 23-year-old 6'1" point guard fell to the 34th spot in the 2018 NBA Draft. And in his rookie season for the Hornets, he saw little meaningful action as the third-string point guard. Graham averaged just 14 minutes in 46 games, playing behind Kemba Walker and Tony Parker. But then Kemba got traded to Boston and Parker retired, which left plenty of opportunity for Graham. And he seized it to the fullest. Devonte averaged 18.2 points and 7.5 assists per game, which tied James Harden for the 7th best mark in the NBA. Furthermore, with 218 made threes, Graham was 5th in made three-pointers, and at times, he looked like the second coming of Steph Curry. The highlights of his coming-out season included a 40-point, 7 threes performance in a win over the Nets, and a huge game winner against the Knicks in the Garden. The world expected Graham to continue to improve and become a perennial 20-point scorer, and maybe even surpass Kemba Walker, who made 3 All-Star teams as a Hornet. But it never happened. Graham's numbers decreased across the board in 2021, and when Charlotte traded him to New Orleans, his output vanished. Slowly but surely, Graham's efficiency, scoring, assists, and rebounds dropped year after year. And he's currently not even on an NBA roster, which is astonishing for a player who just 5 years ago was top 10 in assists and made threes. But Devonte Graham isn't the only point guard who shined in 2020 and is now out of the NBA. After going undrafted in the 2018 NBA Draft, Kendrick Nunn played 1 year in the G League, where he caught the eye of the Miami Heat, who signed him for the 2019-2020 NBA season. Nunn was supposed to be a rotation filler, but then he dazzled in his preseason debut, putting up 40 points against the Rockets, the highest point total in a preseason game in the last 20 years by a Heat player. Out of the blue, Nunn had burst onto the scene, starting every game for Miami in the regular season, with the averages of 15.3
so far,
points.
I feel like he would have been like the best one. I actually thought he was going to be good. No lie. I was happy when the Lakers got him.
Nunn finished second in Rookie of the Year voting behind John Morant. He played big minutes on a team that made the NBA Finals. And his 18 points in Game 1 of the 2020 Finals was the most points scored by a rookie off the bench in a Finals game since Eldon Campbell's 21 points in '91. It seemed like the Heat had found another uncut gem and turned him into a diamond. But then, Nunn dropped off. Even though his efficiency improved, Nunn's numbers decreased, and Miami didn't extend his contract. Still, everyone else saw a ton of potential, and the Lakers signed Nunn to a 2-year, $10 million contract, only to see their investment fizzle out. Kendrick missed the entire 2022 season due to a knee injury. It was clear that he wasn't the same player. So the Lakers quickly shipped him to Washington, where he mostly played in garbage time. And just 4 years after a remarkable rookie season and playing in the finals, Nunn was out of the NBA, signing a deal with the Greek team Panathinaikos. There he won the EuroLeague and was named the MVP of the Greek championship. So it's safe to say he's doing well, and maybe we'll even see him on an NBA roster again. But while being out of the league certainly isn't a nice feeling, it's much easier if you're still receiving an NBA paycheck, like Davis Bertans. Bertans, aka the Latvian Laser, came to the NBA in 2016, and for 3 years he was a solid bench player for the Spurs, justifying his nickname by hitting over 40% of his threes. However, the best he ever averaged in San Antonio was 8 points per game. But after he got traded to Washington and got more shooting opportunities, Bertans exploded. At times, the 6'10" power forward looked like the second coming of Dirk Nowitzki, making 42% of his threes, which ranked 6th in the NBA, and hitting 200 threes in a season, the 8th best result across the entire league. The Latvian Laser averaged 15.4 points per game on insanely good efficiency, which landed him a $64 million extension. In the following season, his shooting plummeted. His scoring average dipped to 11.5 points per game, and due to his defensive deficiencies, it soon became obvious that Bertans had one of the worst contracts in the NBA. The Latvian sharpshooter never shot that sharp after signing his deal. And after the 2024 season, he got waived by the Hornets. But on the bright side, Bertans is still getting money from Charlotte. who will pay him $5.25 million for the 2025 season. And Bertans is not the only player to put up big numbers in a contract year. It's actually an extremely common thing. But what about those players who were only good for a couple of playoff series and still landed a monster contract? Well, the poster boy for that scenario is Bismack Biyombo, who had the luck of becoming a free agent in 2016 when the NBA entered the first season of their 9-year, $24 billion deal with ESPN and TNT. As a result of that TV money, the salary cap spiked from $70 million to $94.1 million, a 32% increase and the largest in NBA history. This rise in salary cap allowed the Warriors to sign Kevin Durant, but other players like Timofey Mozgov, Luol Deng, and Biyombo also benefited, earning an amount of money that would have been baffling just one season earlier. Biyombo spent the first 4 years of his career in Charlotte, where he averaged just 4.4 points and 6 boards per game. And in the 2016 regular season with the Raptors, he only slightly improved to 5.5 points and 8 rebounds
some
per
hype
game.
around him
But then,
a little bit.
in the 2016 playoffs, Biyombo helped the Raptors reach the conference finals against LeBron's Cavaliers, where Toronto was just 2 wins away from getting to the finals. Biyombo excelled on the defensive end and cleaned the glass better than ever before, averaging 9.4 rebounds in just 25 minutes across 20 playoff games. The African center drew a lot of attention during that 2-month playoff run, and when the floodgates opened in the 2016 offseason and every team had salary cap space, the Orlando Magic decided to use theirs on Biyombo. Biz got a 4-year, $72 million contract, which is insane for somebody who averaged just 5 points per game. Since he signed, Biyombo never reached the same heights as he did during the 2016 playoffs, averaging just 5.4 points and 5.4 rebounds for the rest of his career. But unlike Biyombo, he was really just a high-energy guy and never developed much skill. This next player was supposed to be a generational player. And the next great NBA superstar, Jabari Parker, was the second overall pick in the 2014 NBA draft. And he was the complete package, standing at 6'8", 250 pounds, with a solid jumper and great handles for his size. Parker could seemingly do everything on the court. In 2017, his third year in the league, Parker averaged 20.1 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 2.8 assists, shooting 49% from the field and 37% for three. With Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Parker, the Bucks were flying, and it seemed like they had their big three for the next decade. But then Parker's knee crumbled. Parker first tore his ACL in 2014 during his rookie year, and just 2 years later, the same ACL gave out again. And Jabari was never the same player after that. The size and skill were there, but his agility and explosiveness were gone. And over the next 5 years, Parker appeared in just 158 games, averaging 12.5 points. Not terrible by any means, but far below his previous success. Jabari was eventually forced to continue his career overseas, where he signed a contract with Barcelona. A similar fate struck this next player, who got drafted by the best team in the NBA, or at least so he thought. In 2020, after 5 years of making the NBA Finals and winning 3 championships, the Golden State Warriors became the first team in the NBA. KD was gone, Clay was out for the season due to injury, and so was Steph, who broke his hand in the 4th game of the season. All the Warriors had left was an uninspired Draymond Green and a bunch of young guys, with 7 rookies, including Jordan Poole. But from all those young guns, there was one guy who showed more promise than anybody, and he looked like a future cornerstone of the Warriors franchise. It was Eric Paschall, a 6'6" physical power forward, and a 2018 NCAA champion with Villanova. Selected 41st overall in the 2019 draft, Paschall settled into the NBA even better than anyone expected, averaging 14 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 2.1 assists per game, while shooting 50% from the field. Paschall finished 6th in the Rookie of the Year voting and made the All-Rookie first team, so everyone expected him to only improve in the following season. But with the return of Curry, Paschall regressed, averaging 9 points per game in 2021, after which he got traded to Utah. With the Jazz, the young power forward never found his footing, and after just 1 season, he was out of the NBA and is now playing in Europe. But while there are many players who made their name over 1 season and then faded away, nobody did it more spectacularly than Jeremy Lin. Despite dominating at Harvard, where he averaged 17 points and 5 assists with excellent shooting splits, Lin was stereotyped, and nobody wanted to take a chance on a skinny Asian point guard. Lin eventually signed with the Warriors as an undrafted player, but still, he got barely any playing time and was soon cut. And the same story repeated with the Houston Rockets. His NBA dream was on shaky legs, and Lin was sleeping on his friend's couch in New York while playing on a minimum contract for the Knicks. But then it happened. In 2012, the Knicks were plagued by injuries, and were especially thin at the point guard spot. Out of desperation, coach Mike D'Antoni gave Lin a chance on February 4th against the Nets. It was the first time in his career that Lin had played over 30 minutes in a game, and just the fourth time he played over 20. But Lin seized the opportunity to the fullest, erupting for 25 points and 7 assists. In the next game, he had 28 and 8, and the game after that, 23 and 10. Then came a game against Kobe and the Lakers, where Lin scored 38 points, after which he became the biggest sports story in America. On February 14th, with less than a second remaining in the game, Lin made a game-winning three-pointer in the Knicks' 90-87 win over Toronto.
5, 4, Lin for the win! Got it!
And Lin's sanity was born. Just 2 weeks after he was sleeping on a friend's couch and feared getting cut from the NBA, Jeremy became one of the most popular athletes on the planet. For the season, Lin averaged 14.
Bro must have been hitting a bad bitch or something.
15.6 points per game, 6.2 assists, and 1.6 steals, which unfortunately would remain his career highs in all three categories. Even though Lin had a solid career, averaging 11.6 points and 4.3 assists across 9 seasons, he never recaptured the magic from the Lin Sanity era in what was arguably the biggest one-season wonder of all time. And for this next player, the biggest reason why he was only a one-season wonder was his age. If Jahlil Okafor had been born 10 years earlier, he could have been one of the best players in the NBA. If he had been born 20 years earlier, he could have been a Hall of Famer. See, Okafor was an old-school center with phenomenal footwork, huge hands, and a soft touch around the basket. Jahlil was a master of scoring in the post with his back to the basket, which made him the third pick in the 2015 NBA draft. In 2016, his rookie season, Okafor averaged 17.5 points and 7 rebounds per game. But unfortunately for him, the revolution of the three-pointer had already started, and he couldn't keep up. Pace and space wasn't Okafor's game, and even though he could make quick moves in tight spaces, he couldn't guard anybody, especially when he played against bigs that could shoot and drug him out of the paint. Based on his polished post moves and the lack of a defensive 3-second rule, Okafor would have been a great player in the 90s and early 2000s, when teams used to dump the ball in the post on every possession.
You gotta be like a little taller to
switch and run
that.
after Steph Curry's of the world on defense. But he was born too late, and after he averaged 11.5 points as a sophomore, Okafor never reached double figures in scoring for the rest of his career. He bounced around the league, usually playing garbage time minutes, before he was forced to move from the NBA and continue his career in China. And almost 4 years since his last NBA game, completely out of the blue, Okafor returned to the NBA. He signed a 10-day contract with the Pacers, and it was great to see him on the court again, but also bittersweet, since Okafor really could have had a much better career. And an almost identical scenario happened to another former Sixer, who had a phenomenal rookie season and then completely fell off. Michael Carter-Williams was the 11th pick of the 2013 NBA draft, and he had one of the best debuts in NBA history. Against the defending champion Miami Heat, MCW posted 22 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists, and 9 steals, which even got Magic Johnson excited. It was the most steals ever in an NBA debut, and the most ever by a rookie. And because he was also close to a quadruple double with only 1 turnover, Carter-Williams quickly put his name on the NBA map. Despite not being very efficient, MCW finished his rookie campaign strongly, averaging 16.7 points, 6.2 rebounds, 6.3 assists, and 1.9 steals, dominantly winning Rookie of the Year. But just like Okafor, Carter-Williams peaked too soon and never replicated the success he had as a rookie. He just couldn't shoot to save his life, and the Sixers got rid of him less than 6 months after he won Rookie of the Year. Michael was decent enough to stay in the NBA for 9 years, but he never reached the level everyone expected from him after his 2014 season. And 2014 was also the career year of a player most famous for blowing into LeBron James's ear. Of course, it's Lance Stevenson, aka Born Ready, who at one point looked like one of the most versatile guards in the NBA. In 2014, Stevenson played a big role on a Pacers team that went to the conference finals, averaging 13.8 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 4.6 assists, with a 54% effective field goal percentage. Those were career highs in all categories, as Lance never again came even close to averaging those kind of numbers, never reaching double digits in scoring again. Instead, he became an ongoing meme in the NBA, and will always be remembered as one of the biggest goofballs in league history. Thanks for watching. And if you liked this video, we have another one for you right here.
Who you think was like the worst? Or who you think he didn't name that he should have?